Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Commander's Forge. My name is Andy Butley, and the Forge is an area for me to talk about magic, Commander, and anything else while we try and drag this whole mental health thing back to where it's supposed to be. Now, today I want to take you through a brewing process, mostly because I was going through some cards on my desk and I ran across a stack of cards that I had set aside from the Avatar set that I've been fiddling with, and I decided, well, maybe it's time to build one of them out. So the ones specifically in this stack are Ko the Face Stealer, which is 4 black black for a 6/6 shapeshifter spirit. When it enters, you exile up to one other target creature. Whenever another non-token creature dies, you can exile it. You can pay 1 life and choose a creature card exiled with Ko, and Ko has all activated abilities and triggered abilities of the last chosen card. So, feel like that would be like a fun, hey, exile your stuff with Ko. Oh, now I have your cool thing. Next up, I have Lo and Lee, the twin tutors. 4 and a black for a 2/2 human advisor. When it enters, search your library for a lesson or noble card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. And noble creatures you control and lesson spells you control have lifelink. So, I don't know which direction I would take this in. I would see what we have for nobles first, and then probably do some kind of mix of nobles and lessons. And then I also had Avatar Aang, which is the 5-color Aang. The front side is everything but black for a 4/4 human avatar ally. Has flying, firebending 2, and then whenever you waterbend, earthbend, firebend, or airbend, draw a card. If you've done all 4 this turn, you can transform him and becomes Aang, Master of Elements. There we go. I just can't talk. Which is a 6/6 Avatar ally with flying. Spells you cast cost Wooburg less to cast. At the beginning of each upkeep, you can transform him. If you do, you gain 4 life, draw 4 cards, put 4 +1/+1 counters on him, and he deals 4 damage to each opponent. I don't know if I would even bother trying to get all 4 bendings in there. I would just try and find every other way to force him to, change. But ultimately, the one I went with was one of the ones that I was first interested in when the set was spoiled, and that's Longfeng Grand Secretariat, which is 1 and then 2 hybrid green-black for a 2/3 human advisor. And it says, whenever another creature you control or land you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So, when I first read this, my mind went 2 directions. The first direction was aristocrats, and the second direction was persist. So, the first couple of thoughts, I just wasn't pulled in those directions. So I thought, what else could I do with this? And it reminded me of a deck I used to have. A deck that I took apart because most people would see the commander and just absolutely wreck me. That commander was the Gitrog monster. So 3, a green and a black, for a 6/6 frog horror with death touch. At the beginning of your upkeep, you can sacrifice the Gitrog monster unless you sacrifice land. You can play an additional land on each turn, and whenever 1 more lands are put into your graveyard from anywhere, draw a card. In addition to that, I also have Urg, Spawn of Turg, which is black, black, green, for a star 5 frog beast. Its power is equal to the number of land cards in your graveyard. At the beginning of your upkeep, you can look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. You can pay a black and a green to sacrifice a land. You gain 2 life. So now I'm sitting here thinking, well, I could do a version of Lands Matters, but I already have my 5-color Gates deck. So, and I really don't want to try and do a 2-color Gates deck. So that kind of takes that out. I've already done the Merit Lage deck. That might end up in this deck as like an alternative win con, but I've never built a lands deck with Field of the Dead because it's stupid expensive. So I'm gonna bite the bullet and I'm gonna, get Field of the Dead. Now, this is like very early in the brewing process here. I don't necessarily know what my total land count's gonna be, but I do tend to go on the higher side when I'm building a lands deck. I don't know right offhand, but I'm pretty sure my gate stack is running like 42 or 43. Something like this, if I'm very specifically trying to use my commander to just make one big beat stick by looping lands out of the graveyard, it's a different take on the lands deck. Because Gitrog just tried to like combo out by getting lands into the graveyard that you could loop back and forth to get like a lot of value. I feel like Longfeng's gonna try and go more wide with the Field of the Dead. Clearly, we want to start making zombie tokens, but there's more things we can do. So it's almost going to be like a mix between a land and a token deck, with pieces from both kind of smashed together. At least this is the direction I'm going in. I don't know if it's gonna like take all of the tech from a token deck. It might just take the finishers from a token deck, like Endray's Runners or Craterhoof Behemoth. I mean, there's so many directions I could go. Like I could go, Grave Titan to get more zombies. I'm gonna be making enough zombies. I could just lean into like zombie token producers. So it's, again, very early in this brewing process. I don't necessarily know what's gonna make it in yet, but I'm excited to see where my mind goes. But that's it. The first part went a little long, so I'm gonna call it here, and I will be right back. Alright, and we're back. Now, I do want to try and get through this part without getting too far into wasting a ton of time. So, I'm going to go over something that I talked about in the past, but now that I have it completed, we're going to go over it. So, that is the Ryu deck, but I'm using the in-universe Vikya Scorching Stalwart. So it's 2 and a white for a 2/4 human warrior. It has training. And for 4 and a red and untap and discarding a card, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. If excess damage was dealt to a creature this way, you draw a card. So, yeah. We want to make our commander really powerful and to start, pitching things to do a bunch of damage. And so I kind of built one of the strangest equipment decks that I could put together. And yeah, let's go over that quickly. So the main thing I built this deck around, or at least started building it around, was Sunforger. And originally, Sunforger was going to be the only equipment in the deck, but then I kind of shifted gears partway through the brewing process. So Sunforger is a 3 mana equipment. The equipped creature gets +4/+0, and you can pay a red and a white and unattached Sunforger to search your library for a red or white instant card with converted mana cost 4 or less. Cast it without paying its mana cost, then shuffle your library, and it equips for 3. So, I'm not going to go into the lists of instants and sorceries, but every single one of, I believe, the 21 that are in the deck can be hit with Sunforger. That was still a requirement to be in the deck. But I shifted because I had a set of swords that weren't getting used. So, these are all of the swords of X and Y that are in the deck. They're all 3 mana, they all equip for 2, and they all give +2/+2 and protection from 2 colors. So in no particular order, we have Truth and Justice, which is protection from white and blue. Sword and Sinew, which is protection from black and red. Fire and Ice, which is protection from red and blue. War and Peace, which is protection from red and white. Once and Future, which is protection from blue and black. Feast and Famine, which is protection from black and green. And Forge and Frontier, which is protection from red and green. And that's kind of the core of my equipment package. I do have, like boots, basilisk collar, other things. But then I was thinking, well, if I'm doing this, there are some creatures that I definitely still want to have in the deck. The first one that came to mind when I was doing this, because you really want to pump her power up, was Brunor Battlehammer. So 2, a red and a white for a 5/3 dwarf warrior. Each creature you control gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it, and then you can pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost of the first equip ability you activate each turn. So again, we want our commander to have lots of power, and then when she attacks other things, she can put counters on them, but also, once you get to untap her, she just starts dealing massive damage, and you can go face, or you can just, if you have the resources for it, you can attack. Mid-attack, you can untap her using her ability to kill a blocker and draw you another card. But I ended up going with more into that theme. So like Stoneforge Mystic, 1 and a white for a 1/2 core artificer. When it enters, search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. And then for 1 and a white and tapping it, you can put an equipment card from your hand onto the battlefield. We also have her big brother, the Stonehewer Giant. 3 white for a 4/4 giant warrior with vigilance. You can pay 1 and a white, tap, search your library for an equipment card, put it onto the battlefield, attach it to a creature you control, and then shuffle your library. Those are mostly ways to get our Sunforger into play. Yeah. Next up was one that kind of popped into my head recently, because I was like, oh, wait, this is actually really good with equipment. Zerda the Dawnwaker. 1 and 2 hybrid red-white for a 3/3 elemental fox. It has companion, but I'm not going to go over that because I'm not using it as one. But abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the mana, and that costs 2 less than 1. And you can pay 1 and tap. Target creature can't block this turn. So again, that's just reducing our equip costs and also removing blockers from combat. We've got the double of Aurelia the War Leader, 2 red, white for a 3/4 angel with flying vigilance haste. Whenever she attacks for the first time each turn, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. And the law above, 3, a red and a white for a 4/4 angel with flying vigilance and haste. Whenever a player attacks with 3 or more creatures, you draw a card. Whenever a player attacks with 5 or more creatures, Aurelia deals 3 damage to each of your opponents, and you gain 3 life. So I like having her because if I don't want to dedicate damage to creatures to draw cards, this still allows me to draw a card. So does Mary, Squire of Rohan, which is a red and a white for a 2/2 halfling knight with haste. Has first strike as long as it's equipped. And whenever you attack with Mary and another legendary creature, you draw a card. Actually, the deck that kind of became this started as a Mary Squire of Rohan deck, and it just kind of morphed from there. Next up, we have Adriana, Captain of the Guard, 3 red-white for a 4/4 human knight with melee. Other creatures you control have melee, so if you have 3 opponents and you attack all 3, now your commander gets +3/+3. If its power is still bigger than something else, it puts a counter on it, and when you activate the ability, it does 3 more damage. Norn Squiremaster, 3 white for a 5/4 Phyrexian Angel with flying and first strike. Whenever a commander you control enters the battlefield or attacks, proliferate. So again, commander has training. Training pumps up creatures. Now with that, whenever she attacks, she gets to, pump stuff up. And if you can throw a counter onto her, she can pump up her own. Next up, we have Akiri, Fearless Voyager, 1 red-white for a 3/3 core warrior. Whenever you attack a player with 1 or more equipped creatures, draw a card. And for a white, you can attach an equipment from a creature you control. If you do, tap that creature. It gains indestructible till end of turn. So this kind of plays 3 roles. It's helping us draw cards. It's a cheap way to tap our commander if we don't have open ways to attack. And in a pinch, it also, gives indestructible to protect. Next up, we have Nahiri, Forged in Fury, 4 red-white for a 5/4 core artificer with affinity for equipment. And whenever an equipped creature you control attacks, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. You can cast equipment spells without paying their mana costs. So, just a way to cheat extra equipments into play, but we also do have just a ton of cheap interaction. Next up, we have Bruce Taro, Boros Herder, 2, a red and a white for a 3/3 human ally. Whenever it enters or attacks, target creature gains double strike till end and lifelink till end of turn. So this is just a way to help us mitigate our own life loss. And finally, for the creatures, we have Eartha Joe, Frontier Mentor, 2, a red and a white for a 2/4 core advisor. When she enters, you make a 1/1 mercenary with tap. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 till end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. That in and of itself is just another way to pump our commander. And then whenever you activate an ability that targets a creature or player, you may copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. So if you can get this down early game with the commander and, pitch 1 card, hit 2 creatures, kill both creatures, draw 2 cards, is pretty freaking good. Now, another thing we want to do is activate our commander multiple times and also get it tapped. So I'm going to kind of quick fire these. First up, we have Honor-Worn Shaku, 3-mana artifact. Taps at a colorless. You can tap an untapped legendary permanent you control to untap Honor-Worn Shaku. Springleaf Drum, 1-mana artifact. Tap an untapped creature you control. Add 1 mana of any color. Paradise Mantle, 0-mana equipment. Equipped creature gets tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. It equips for 1. Relic of Legends, 3-mana artifact. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. Tap an untapped legendary creature you control. Add 1 mana of any color. Holdout Settlement, land. Taps for colorless. Tap and tap an untapped creature you control. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Survivor's Encampment, land. Desert. Taps for colorless. Tap an untapped creature you control. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Scene of the Crime, artifact land. Clue. Scene of the Crime enters the battlefield tapped. Taps for colorless. You can tap it and tap an untapped creature you control to add 1 mana of any color. You can also pay to sacrifice Scene of the Crime and draw a card. And then there's the let's do this a couple of times cards. The first one here is Illusionist Bracers, 2 mana equipment. Whenever an ability of equipped creature is activated, if it isn't a mana ability, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. It equips for 3. And Battle Mages Bracers, 2 and a red for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature has haste. Whenever an ability of equipped creature is activated, if it isn't a mana ability, you may pay 1. If you do copy that ability, you may choose new targets for the copy. Equips for 2. Whew. yeah. And look at that. I got it. It's going to be at least under 25 minutes. But there is one final inclusion that I honestly thought about a couple of days ago as like kind of the best card to discard. And that is Squee Goblin Nabob. 2 and a red for a 1/1 goblin. And it says at the beginning of your upkeep, you may return Squee Goblin Nabob from your graveyard to your hand. And with that, I had the deck completed. Unfortunately, I was not feeling well Friday, so I couldn't make it up to the game store. I'm not entirely sure when I will. Honestly, I'll probably end up playing this just with friends first. I don't know. I feel like it'll have like some nice little control-y elements, and I don't know. That's kind of what I got. So, yeah. I think that's what I'm going to call it. So, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. All of my links can be found in my link tree in the description below. I would like to thank Ian Foss and Cody Mulvey of the band The Crypt for allowing me to use music for my opening and ending, along with Nate and Erica Jacobs for making my original logo. And I would also like to thank Christina McNichol for creating my new logo. And I'll see you next time.